Hello and welcome to another Dragon Ball discussion video. I'm your host Merlin, and today we shall be taking a look at some of the most flamboyant villains in the series, the Ginyu Force. This is a request from the Green Flash himself, Mr. adamagreen. We are first introduced to the Ginyus on Namek, after Frieza found himself having some difficulties, as the alliance between Vegeta and the Earthlings have resulted in the deaths of some of his most powerful lieutenants, and kept the Dragon Balls from his grasp. This forced him to call in the Ginyu Force, an elite band of mercenaries that Frieza apparently calls in only in the direst of circumstances, mostly because Frieza's kind of lazy when you get right down to it, seeing himself as above getting his hands dirty. Each of the Ginyus is surprisingly memorable not only due to their designs and personality traits, but their own gimmick-based powers. As mentioned before, all of them are extremely flamboyant and somewhat arrogant, as they take dramatic poses before fighting enemies and do strange, cheerleading routines. They also see themselves as being much more powerful than any fighter they encounter, as they don't take Vegeta and the others seriously. This is demonstrated, for instance, by deciding who shall fight with a game of rock, paper, scissors. I wonder how such a cultural pastime from Earth reached that far out into space. Then again, they all do speak English, so... moving on. The first Ginyu our heroes face is called Guldo, a short, green, four-eyed little creature who has some of the most interesting powers in the group. Though physically not very powerful, he does have several powerful psychic abilities. In his battle with Gohan and Krillin, he demonstrates the power to stop time for as long as he can hold his breath. Pretty cool. Perhaps he could give Dio Brando a run for his money. No, not really, since Guldo apparently can't hold his breath long enough to accomplish anything with his power. In addition, Guldo also seems to have the ability to freeze the air around his opponents, thereby immobilizing them. Guldo is also probably the most bloodthirsty of the group, as he seems to revel in the thought of impaling Krillin and Gohan with a sharpened tree trunk. However, Guldo meets his end by Vegeta in a death far more brutal than any of the other Ginyus receive, as he is decapitated by the Saiyan Prince, and then his removed head, which is amazingly still alive, is blown to smithereens. You know, if you looked up the word overkill in the dictionary, you would probably see Vegeta's face there. The second member of the Z-Fighters face is Recoome, a lumbering humanoid with an incredible resistance to injury, and quite possibly the most flamboyant and egotistical of the group, even naming various attacks after himself. Recoome Kick! Though his intelligence is probably the lowest, he still gives Vegeta a good fight and, as mentioned before, has a high resistance to damage, as he receives many small cuts and burns from Vegeta, as well as the loss of several teeth. He probably would have finished the fighters on Namek, if it had not been for the timely arrival of Goku, who defeated the fighter with one well-placed punch. Next we have Burter, a tall blue reptilian creature whose primary ability seems to be his great speed. In fact, Burter claims to be the fastest being in the universe. Let's be honest though, he's probably exaggerating somewhat. Probably more than any other team member, Burter seems incredibly frustrated when there is even the slight possibility someone can surpass his abilities. In particular, when Goku arrives and seems to be much faster than he, Burter has something of a small panic attack. However, this quickly passes and we see one of Burter's more interesting traits. Along with his teammate Jace, Burter and his partner seem to have the closest bond out of any of the members of the Ginyu Force, which not only enhances their abilities physically, but allows for some more strategic combat. In this sense, Burter is probably one of the most intelligent of the team. However, he's ultimately defeated and he has his neck crushed by Vegeta. Next there is Jace, a short humanoid with red skin and white hair, who in some dubs seems to have an Australian accent. Yeah, I don't get it either. And seem to have the closest friendship in the group. In fact, without each other, it is implied that the two feel rather helpless. This is demonstrated when Burter is dispatched by Goku, causing Jace to flee. Some have implied that Jace is a coward, and Ginyu himself seems to think so as well. However, we have to take into account that Jace just witnessed two of his teammates about as powerful as he, defeated by one fighter. He clearly hadn't experienced this scenario before. Therefore, it is safe to say that Jace understands the concept of a strategic retreat. He also seems to be more willing to do whatever it takes to win, such as when he aided Captain Ginyu in the fight with Goku. Jace would meet his end with most of his teammates when he is vaporized by Vegeta. And finally, that brings us to the leader of the Ginyus, Captain Ginyu himself. Out of all the team, Ginyu seems to be much more powerful, intelligent, and probably more flamboyant as well. He also seems to be more concerned with his image rather than anything else, as the death of his teammates infuriates him, simply due to the lack of members needed to perform choreographed dance numbers and epic poses. Despite this idiosyncrasy, Ginyu is not a villain to underestimate. Unlike the other Ginyus, he is aware of ki manipulation and the ability of some fighters to hide their power levels. The captain also has an interesting sense of honor not allowing Jace to interfere with his fight with Goku, as he believes in the fairness of one-on-one combat. This would make Ginyu seem almost acceptable if not for his action following Goku's 180,000 power level reveal. Ginyu not only demonstrates his rather interesting technique, but shows the true brutality and clear focus in defeating an enemy. Ginyu uses his body swapping technique to steal Goku's body and punches himself with such a massive force in the chest before doing so, leaving Goku trapped in a slow, painful death, in a body that is not his own. This begs the question that Ginyu may have used his technique many times before as a means of getting power. If he encountered a stronger foe, he would simply take the body as his own. Some fans have pointed out it's strange that Ginyu never used his ability on Frieza. I can offer an explanation as to why. First of all, Ginyu seems more interested in the destruction of lower races for monetary gain. and enjoying battles, rather than achieving some kind of political dominance. Basically, he's really loyal to Frieza and really enjoys serving him. Secondly, Ginyu is not stupid. He knows Frieza is far more powerful than him, and he would not want to risk the possibility that Frieza could dodge a blast or possibly be too powerful for him to control. Plus the fact that if Frieza ever suspects some threat from his underlings, he usually takes some kind of preliminary action. In any case, this probably would have been the end for Goku, had Ginyu not made one critical error. He did not know the secret of Goku's abilities, namely the Kaioken, so he was unable to amplify the base power since the strength of the key manipulating warrior is based on that individual's spirit energy. Ginyu is probably not much of a martial artist, and it is implied that Ginyu and possibly most of Frieza's army are mutations of some sort, which gave them their strength and other abilities. Ultimately, Ginyu is tricked into swapping bodies with a frog of all things, and actually manages to survive the events on Namek. I'm not sure if that's impressive or just sad. There was a brief moment in the anime where Ginyu takes over Bulma's body and tries to take over Piccolo. This probably would have been a good secondary battle during the Goku-Frieza fight, but unfortunately never leads anywhere. I've always had mixed feelings about the Ginyus. On one hand, they signified a real shift in the series, as the battle with them really felt like a whole new level of power as even Vegeta feared them. They all had unique designs and powers and personalities, which contrasted each other fairly well. In addition, all their fights were still pretty good. Still, they were incredibly goofy at points and probably been underused, as they barely had time to establish themselves as a threat before Goku showed up and wiped out half the team. Now, I'm not saying I don't understand this. It did help demonstrate Goku's power jump once more. I just think that the gap was a bit too big and that Goku should have had to struggle with them a bit more, at least with his fight with Berta and Jace. I actually like all the Ginyus, though my least favorite is probably Goldo, though I actually think he has the coolest power, to be honest. My favorite member is Berta, mostly because he's blue, he's a reptile, and his primary ability is super speed. And I like all those things. He's also probably the most menacing of the group. I think when it comes down to it, the Ginyus are a part of DBZ that everyone makes fun of, but everyone secretly loves. Well guys, that was my spiel on the Ginyu Force. Until next time, Merlin out.